The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted.
Dude, this is so lame. Oh my God, this is so soy. This is so unimaginably soy. Dude, incredible soy right. Incredible things are happening on the soy right. You're hurting the feelings of our big, beautiful pilots. I can't wait for them to even mention that the pilots are women. It's gonna happen. Trust me.
Straight to a Fox News alert, President Trump says he's unhappy with both Israel and Iran, saying both nations violated their bilateral ceasefire agreement.
The president warning Israel that any military action will go against the deal after a senior Israeli official told Fox News that they will have to retaliate with force against Iran's missiles.
So the president right now is heading to the Netherlands to meet with NATO leaders. Here's what he said right before he left. Watch.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. Oh, you want to respond at the ceasefire? I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful.
Is it possible that Trump doesn't know he can stop Israel? No, he knows he can stop Israel. Get out of here. Get out of here. Of course he knows. Everybody knows. If you know, he knows. What are you talking about? Especially someone who is as invested in like maintaining power and doing like shows of force like Donald Trump. That's all he knows. That's the language that he speaks. It's the only language that he speaks. If he truly wanted that Nobel Peace Prize, he would have stopped Israel the moment that he came into office. He would not have allowed Israel to continue its ethnic cleansing campaign. The reason, one must ask the question, why he allowed it to continue. And the answer is simple. It's because he doesn't mind the ethnic cleansing of Gaza. He wants all of the Palestinians, he wants Israel to finish the job, to complete its final solution, to complete its complete genocide, its Holocaust in Gaza. Okay? He believes that this is he personally believes that this is a good objective, a military objective that Israel can accomplish. There's a difference between Israel striking a defenseless, vulnerable, captive population in its open-air prison versus Israel striking a sovereign state with ballistic missile capabilities that is also propped up in part by another mighty foreign adversary, Russia, okay, that has economic ties to another major global power like China, and with a militant deterrence capability that can actually punish Israeli society, and that Israel cannot continue its military conquest without America joining the fight. Israel cannot achieve its military objectives in Iran without America possibly directly invading Iran, as a matter of fact. Trump at this stage does not have the same appetite for that. Trump is like, yeah, keep doing genocide. If you want to bomb Lebanon in the process, go off, king, you know? But there's a difference between that and America directly involving themselves. A show of force as far as like striking nuclear facilities from America was, I will say this much. The generals that were in Trump's ear were correct when they said Iran would not escalate significantly and punish and end up punishing the American forces and American assets in the region. They were right. It did look like Qasem Soleimani. It did look like the aftermath of Qasem Soleimani. Only time will tell if this was the smart choice from Iran. Why don't you talk about over the last 150 years, none of the Trump family has served in our military? Well, yeah, I mean, they're German. So not that long ago, they wouldn't have served in the American military. They would have served in the German one. Why did you lie super hard about Iran breaking the ceasefire first when Trump himself admitted Israel broke it first? Wait, what do you mean? Lie super hard about Iran breaking the ceasefire first? No, Iran lobbed ballistic missiles. Literally, the last barrage of ballistic missiles that Iran sent was right at the precipice of the ceasefire, like immediately after the ceasefire. Okay. They did what Israel does. They behaved in the same way that Israel did. Israel considered that to be a violation. And I think if Trump were to allow Israel to continue striking Iran, they would have done way more than just hit one satellite, or not satellite, one radar facility in Iran. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. I'll let you know.
Are you going to be the agreement? It's a new dawn in the Middle East, thanks to the agreement you managed to achieve. What are your future plans for the region, for Saudi Arabia, Israel, Gaza, be hostages?
Look, you're asking me about women in the Middle East. It's getting a lot better. Things are happening at a high level. As you know, Saudi Arabia has done a really good job. It's coming out far faster than I thought. So we're very happy about what's happening with women in the Middle East.
No, I'm talking about a new zone in the Middle East that you managed to achieve last night.
Yeah.
It's in, the region is going to a new place with the specific agreements. Can you talk what's the future plan for Gaza, with the hostages?
Yeah. It's a new dawn. I appreciate the question. You're very nice. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Riyad Proust, an Israeli tunnel for 2 years.
Well, we have to have Israel calm down because they went on a mission this morning. I got to get Israel to calm down now.
Do you get to speak with Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last night?
I speak to everybody.
You know, both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all.
Yeah. So he's more mad. He's more mad at Israel because he's saying that like Iran, lobbed a couple extra ones on the as a buzzer beater. Okay. Versus Israel deliberately, way past the point of the ceasefire, fired up their jets and traveled in the direction of Iran in an effort to go and do another bombing campaign in retaliation way past the point of ceasefire. So he's more mad at Israel than he is at Iran. I assume that even if the last barrage had no missiles lobbed past the point of the ceasefire, like the hardline ceasefire time frame, Israel still would have tried to do some kind of retaliation because Israel would have still tried to do some kind of retaliation because like they were very upset because they did kill a bunch of people.
And I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. Okay?
how confident are you that Iran is going to be completely demolished?
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those B-2 pilots did an unbelievable job. And the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much.
Yeah, it's because the New York Times and CNN have now officially confirmed that the sites have not been demolished, and it makes Trump look bad. Preliminary U.S. reports says bombing sealed off entrances to 2 Iranian sites, but did not collapse underground buildings, meaning nuclear program is set back only a few months. So all they need to do is reopen the tunnels and dig back in. So he's mad. He's obviously mad about that because then it goes against the propaganda that he wants to implement, which is like, yeah, we're so mighty. Our dicks are so hard. Our lethal military really destroyed the Iranian nuclear facilities. Now that is this is also kind of interesting, I think, because if the strikes set back Iran's nuclear program only by a few months, I worry that like Trump is going to look at this and be like, okay, then we got to hit it again. And I don't want that to happen, obviously. You know what I mean? Because this kind of stuff also gives Israel more cause to demand more military action from the United States of America.
Much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated.
Hi there, joining you after a week of internet shutdown in Iran. Sorry for the broken English. Don't know if you're aware of this or not, but after the government decided to agree to the ceasefire, whose statements got read first? The president, not the supreme leader. Food for thought. Yeah, I mean, the supreme leader's been awfully quiet.
and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Well, Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with
no
every one of
moon.
those things. And
There was no moon. It was a special night. Nothing to see here, but they did it anyway.
that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys.
This is awesome. He's like, you have to apologize to my big, beautiful pilots, saying they didn't actually successfully bomb it. How dare you? This is not about me. It's about the pilots. It's about the pilots. They did a beautiful job. CNN hates our big, beautiful pilots. There was a woman pilot too. CNN hates women. Clearly, CNN hates, Clinton News Network hates the women. We had DEI pilots. We had black pilots, white pilots, brown pilots, pilots of all different backgrounds.
Really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real ugly.
Israel says that they violated the
Dude, it's so funny because like this was the most obvious assessment of all time. Once again, if we here at the HasanAbi broadcast, at the Piker Broadcasting Service can make this assessment early on, okay, then obviously the American military can make that make the same assessment as well. And notice how the initial military accomplishment was to destroy the facility and also eradicate the enriched uranium supply, even though the enriched uranium had been moved from Fordow before the strike even took place, a week before the strike even took place. So obviously that goal was never going to be accomplished. So then they moved on to the second goal. The goalpost moved to, well, we actually destroyed the facility sufficiently. Well, it turns out they didn't destroy the facility sufficiently. So now there's two options. Either you just keep claiming that you destroyed the facility sufficiently, or it gives more of an opportunity for Israel and America to go back to the bombing campaign and kickstart the process once Israel's air defenses have been replenished.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We have major breaking news into CNN. 3 sources tell CNN that according to an early U.S. intelligence assessment, the U.S. military strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear facilities last weekend did not destroy the core components of the country's nuclear program and likely only set it back a few months.
That's right. So this is an assessment that actually is out from the Defense Intelligence Agency. That is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it was based on a battle damage assessment conducted by U.S. CENTCOM after the strikes, according to one of the sources. Let's go to CNN national security correspondent Natasha Bertrand, who has this exclusive new reporting to that question that has been asked about how much damage has been done. This is a real question. It's also a political question that has been to something that Donald Trump.
Remember, what did this accomplish? What did we accomplish here? We spent of healthcare units. Okay, every military action should be every metric of looking at military action should be judged by how many healthcares did it cost? Okay, even from the American perspective, how many healthcare units did we waste on this? What were the military objectives here? Targeting the Iranian enriched uranium, targeting the Iranian nuclear facilities, and obviously the major objective here is to do regime change swiftly and efficiently. Create popular mobilization, take advantage of any sort of sectarian infighting that takes place in Iran. None of those happened. Not a single one of these military objectives were accomplished. And in the process, hundreds of Iranians were killed. Almost 30 plus Israelis were killed in the tit for tat in the back and forth between Iran and Israel. Israel's air defenses looked not so great, and that is with the entire Western world backing Israel. So what happened? Nothing. What could have happened, on the other hand, is Trump telling Israel not to do this, stopping Israel from doing this, and actually engaging in some kind of negotiation and lowering sanctions, lowering the nuclear sanctions with Iran, and have a much more reasonable, much more diplomatic Iranian leadership get success out of this negotiations process and go back to the JCPOA, go back to the commitments that they had to the initial JCPOA agreement that was set up under Barack Obama. That would have actually made Trump look good. But he relied too much on the Israeli side driving the process. He gave the steering wheel to Israel, and Israel is an insane, belligerent country. They're psychopathic. And here we are. Now you have now you have an Iran that is angry and understandably resentful, that is slated to leave the International Atomic Energy Agency, who might actually work towards nuclear proliferation down the line in an act of determining sovereignty, in an act of creating some semblance of protection for themselves. None of this had to happen.
Trump has been sort of dealing with here recently. What
A
are
more
you learning,
unified
Natasha?
Iranian population as well.
Yeah, look, Brianna, this is the first assessment that we are getting that the U.S. intelligence community has found about the battle damage that resulted from those U.S. military strikes on these.
This is crazy, bro. MOPs were created specifically for Fordow. There have been around 20, probably more, to be honest, MOPs that have ever been created, and the U.S. dropped 18 of them on Fordow on Saturday, and it was a tactical failure according to American intelligence. Maybe, dude, let me say something. Let me say something to you. Enshittification, okay? Have you heard of it? Have you heard of it? I think capitalism is so self-defeating that maybe it even ruins the American military.
These 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. And as you said, it was produced by the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is the Pentagon's intelligence arm. And it is worth noting that it is a very early assessment. The strikes were only a matter of days ago.
Lockheed is quiet quitting, dude. Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, quiet quitting. Boeing is already quiet quit. We know that already. Too much DEI, too much corner cutting, cost cutting.
And the intelligence community is still gathering intelligence. They are still working to come up with a full, comprehensive picture of what exactly happened here. But based on a battle damage assessment that was carried out by U.S. Central Command, essentially looking at the images and looking at what was actually damaged, the Defense Intelligence Agency has assessed that the core components of Iran's nuclear program are largely intact, and that Iran's nuclear program has essentially only been set back by months. Now, we presented this information to the White House for comment, and White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, she did acknowledge the existence of this assessment, but she said in a statement that the administration disagrees with it. She said, quote, "This alleged assessment is flat out wrong and was classified as top secret, but was still leaked to CNN by an anonymous low-level loser in the intelligence community. The leaking of this alleged assessment is a clear attempt to demean President Trump and discredit the brave fighter pilots who conducted."
Dude, this is so lame. Oh my God, this is so soy. This is so unimaginably soy. Dude, incredible soy right. Incredible things are happening on the soy right. You're hurting the feelings of our big, beautiful pilots. I can't wait for them to even mention that the pilots are women. It's gonna happen. Trust me, okay? How dare you hurt the feelings of our big, beautiful pilots by leaking the intelligence community's assessment that their strikes was actually not successful. How dare you? I do worry that this kind of quote unquote leak might be coming from the hardliners that want, like, the more hawkish elements within the State Department that want to continue bombing Iran. I don't know. That are just like super invested in Israel's ambitions here. That is something that I worry about a little bit. Taking advantage of Trump's insecurities to be like, oh, you didn't do it? Well, I'll show you. I'll do it right this time. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
A perfectly executed mission to obliterate Iran's nuclear program. Everyone knows what happens when you drop 14 30,000-pound bombs perfectly on their target.
Like, I don't know if we're having a serious conversation here for a brief moment. Those brave, beautiful warfighter pilots, okay, are war criminals. What they engaged in was a war crime, okay? I know that this is scary thing to broach for a lot of Americans, but like, it doesn't matter if it's an American pilot or an Israeli one doing this. When you fly into a foreign nation's airspace with the express purpose of blowing up their nuclear facilities, what you are doing is a war crime. What those pilots were doing, even the female one, okay, girl boss war crimes. That's what it is. I like that we don't even think about that. I like that that is not even a matter. That is not even something that's in consideration here. Like, no one is even entertaining the notion that, like, this is actually, one, an act of war, and two, a war crime. I truly feel crazy about, didn't the UN guy say it was legal though? Wait, what do you mean? What? Anyone that sanctions a tactical first strike, anyone that sanctions a tactical first strike against nuclear facilities is insane, okay? There is no world in which this is appropriate or allowed. And it probably wasn't a UN guy. It probably was a NATO guy. Yeah, it was, it was Rutte. He wasn't the UN guy. He's the NATO General Secretary. And of course he said that. That's NATO. That's not the United Nations. Here, I'll give you an example from the not so distant past. Russia was engaging in a battle near a Ukrainian nuclear power plant. Do you remember how terrified everyone was that Russia was doing this? The dynamic doesn't change when America does it, because the actual war crime here is hitting a nuclear power plant. And it did get hit. Yeah, Zaporizhzhia got hit. Like, numerous nuclear power plants were under fire in the process. That doesn't change when it's like the receiving, on the receiving end, you have not Ukrainians, but like Iranians. You know what I mean? That's like not allowed or appropriate.
It's total obliteration. Now, it is worth noting here that there has been dissent, I should say, within the intelligence community, within the defense community, about just how much of an impact these massive bunker buster bombs would actually have on Iran's nuclear facilities. It was far from certain, given that these bombs had never been tested in an actual combat scenario, whether they would actually penetrate those very, very deep underground tunnels that lie underneath these nuclear facilities. And what we are told is that as of now, this Defense Intelligence Agency assessment, it does conclude at this point, again, it is still very early, that those underground facilities.
Yeah, NPT is completely destroyed since a country doing everything right got its nuclear facilities attacked. Why most nuclear armed nations even did not condemn it. From here on, the NPT means nothing is also correct. Like, what good is any of this? What good is the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, also known as the NPT? What good is that but a piece of paper to wipe your ass with if all of the signatories are openly stating that this is actually very cool that America hit a country's nuclear facilities that was actually abiding by the same treaty? What are we doing? This is what I mean. If it's the rule of the jungle, then, and it's might is right politics, then everyone has to get more militant. Do you understand how this makes the world a less safe place? Do you understand how America's belligerence and Israel's belligerence in the global stage is making the world a less safe place? Now, obviously, the other side of the story is that all of these treaties and all of these conventions are mere suggestions, or rather, rules and regulations that the Western world has created specifically to bully whoever they've declared their adversaries, while they themselves violate all of those rules in the process of enforcing these regulations and restrictions upon others. That is how it's been in perpetuity. That is what Western dominances look like. And now that America's time is passing as the singular sole global hegemonic superpower, other countries that are regional powers are also themselves violating these rules.
And refuges, including the highly enriched that everyone has been talking so much about, those are largely intact. Now, of course, this does stand at odds with what President Donald Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have been saying in recent days about the impact of these U.S. military strikes. Of course, President Trump said it was totally obliterated, and Secretary Hegseth did as well. And he actually also provided CNN with a statement And he said that, quote, based on everything we have seen, and I've seen it all, our bombing campaign obliterated Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. Our massive bombs hit exactly the right spot at each target and worked perfectly. The impact of those bombs is buried under a mountain of rubble in Iran. So anyone who says the bombs were not devastating is just trying to undermine the president and the successful mission. Now, our sources did emphasize here that there was severe damage that was done largely to the above ground structures at these nuclear sites. And so there was damage done, of course, by these massive bombs. But the core components of the nuclear program, we are told, they are largely intact, and it only set the program back by a matter of months. Boris, Brianna.
Natasha Bertrand, please stand by.
Your gutless news. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Says that Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one...
Israel came out and said no loads refused, taking far too many loads. They got loads, the biggest loads you've ever seen, folks. Unacceptable. The amount of loads, terrifying loads, so big, so hard, so fat.
One rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
I don't care about Trump's condemnations of Israel on camera. I care about what he does behind closed doors. I care about what Israel wants to do and what Trump will allow them to do going forward. I also care about Trump scaling back Israel's violence and stopping it in Gaza. Okay, he can do that as well. This kind of like obvious resentment and anger that he's demonstrating towards Israel here is meaningless if it doesn't lead to policy changes.
You know what? We basically have two countries that are...
As I've said before, Donald Trump says, Vladimir, stop. He doesn't have any power to like actually stop Vladimir, but he does have the power to stop Israel.
Fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Wow, and that's too a lot of people talking about the expletive at the end, but that's he just being honest.
He's furious.
Right.
I had the opportunity to just talk to him before we just went on air for the 8 o'clock hour, and I said, I haven't seen you this upset in a while. What's really going on? He had just hung up with Bibi Netanyahu, the prime minister, and he said that the prime minister is bringing all the planes back. I said, why are you so frustrated with Israel? And he says because he didn't feel like it was good faith, that even though they still had some time until the ceasefire, that they essentially unloaded on Iran. I said, what about Iran as it relates to some of the reports that they're still doing their program? He says they got to save face for the country. They still got to appear to be strong. But he goes, their program is done. He said, our pilots fixed all of that when they hit their targets there. But he goes, I'm not happy with both of them, but more so Israel, because he goes, it's over, it's done. The program is done.
Well, and he also said in that press conference that he's upset with Israel because Iran targeted them after the ceasefire, but it was one missile that went nowhere, he said. So for Israel to retaliate against that when nothing happened with that Iranian missile, he doesn't feel like that was in Israel's, they shouldn't have done that, he said.
I'm all for Israel hitting every target possible within those final 8 hours. They got about 100 launchers hiding under tunnels. There's other people. There's other assassinations got to take place. These nuclear scientists got to go. These higher commands got to go. They spent their entire existence trying to kill Israelis and kill us. And now
we're back. We're back. Am I watching channel? Am I watching Khan? Is this channel 14? Am I watching Israeli news right now? What is happening? We got to go back. We got to go back. We got to go back. We got to bomb them. We got to bomb them harder. We got to bomb them harder. Brian killed me. Yeah, Brian killed me. Went from Brian kill myself to Brian kill them.
With the president's referring to, and I think he's right, I don't know if they can do it, But when you have Iran's chief nuclear scientist, Mohammad Eslami, say on Tuesday, they're going to immediately tell Mir News they're immediately going to start again with their nuclear program. I mean, that's like in your face to us and to Israel.
Well, we knew they were going to do that. We saw those trucks removing some of the enriched uranium out of the facilities. Mike Tobin confirmed that. Exactly. So where is that enriched uranium? We saw those 5 planes go in from China, go into Iran. Did they take enriched uranium back to China to protect it while Iran was preparing to get blasted? Where is that enriched uranium? But I have faith in this president, and I appreciate hearing him say they will never have nuclear facilities again.
But here's the other issue. They have to stop financing all their proxies. Ceasefire's great, but if you want to get to the next step, I don't know how you enforce this. Hamas can't get another dollar, Houthis can't get another dollar, and Hezbollah can't get another dollar. They did not back Iran when the chips were down. Either did Russia and North Korea, either did China. So we got to make sure that they just can't reconstitute and we're not back here in 18 months.
But if they do, Israel has great intelligence. We have intelligence. We would know where it is. And look what our military did on Saturday. They could do that again.
Well, but it's very hard to take down. What they did with Hezbollah, there's only going to be one pager operation, one walkie-talkie operation. They can't do this again. They cannot get rocketed from both sides. And Hamas has got to be finished. And in a couple of weeks, I guess they're going to look to talk and get the final hostages out. But they have no more money flowing to them right now, no more money flowing to Hezbollah. If that stays the same, then we could watch these guys wither. Lebanon could actually get Lebanon back.
Brian, you know, from an ideology standpoint, I agree with you. I agree with you that this is something that is deeply rooted in the radical Islamic ideology there in Iran, and they're never going to stop. But I do see the president's point of you got to give peace a shot, because he's not only dealing with Iran, but he also has to at least appear to the Muslim world, to the UAE, to Egypt, to Jordan, that he's trying to get a close to this. So working a lot of different factions.
But as you know, Iran is enemies to all those countries.
100%.
They just don't want to come out and say it.
Because of their people.
Right.
The Ayatollah. Most of the Iranians don't like this regime, but they have a lot of power.
The mullahs and the clerics.